This is Heart to Heart Conversation, and this is your host, Yolanda Mahaeng. And I just want to thank you, everyone, for your support, sharing these videos and making sure that someone is touched, and starting their journey and their healing, restoration, and rebuilding their life, And I won't be long, because today I have a sister of mine, Uzinhle Mobs. Kaya wamke, guys, look. This is Mime Kaya. Please, Mime Kaya, please introduce yourself.
Hi. Let me first thank you, Yolik, for the invitation.
Mm-hmm.
And also thank you for the fact that, it's Women's Month. It's an honor and a privilege, that we are having this interview at such a month.
Wow.
I feel like Imbogoto already.
Yeah.
So I thank you. My name is Zinhle, like you've said. I don't have another name. Shem is the only one. But most people, they call me Z. Most they call me Sister Z. And my surname is Mobs. Yes, I am from Ndanzane, Emonti.
Mm-hmm.
And Mina no Yolanda, we've met at CPUT.
Yes.
It's RLM.
Yes.
Yeah, this is where this relationship has started from.
Way
Yes.
back.
Way back. Like when I think about those days, I realize that I'm really old. I'm getting old. But at least, yeah. But I guess I'm also maturing gracefully. So, yeah, I thank God that it's still that time engithi yazi semuhle uYesu namanje.
Oh wow.
So yeah.
Oh wow. I'm just remembering the days of prayer, and we will go and come and worship together, and we will talk the whole night. Literally the whole night till it's 3 a.m. and I'm like, Zinhle, you need to take me, you have to take me halfway to my room.
I know. I miss those days. Those were the good old days,
Mm-hmm.
And I always say that when we go through challenges, we don't realize the foundation that we had at that particular time.
Yeah.
Because at that time it was just you and God.
Yes.
And your hunger to know God, and your hunger to be in the presence of God.
Yeah.
I don't think in all the conversations that we had, there was a conversation that didn't include God, because we've put God in the center of everything that had happened in that time and in our lives. All the time it was just God. And I think that people who were not saved at that particular moment, maybe they thought that we are too crazy, or we're just taking it too far. This thing of God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, whatever. But those times were the times that were molding us to become the people that we are today.
Yeah.
They were molding us to be mothers. They were molding us to be wives. They were molding us to be sisters. They were molding us to be best colleagues and best things ever.
Yeah.
And we were so fortunate, to get into that space at that particular age, because when you are ready to go to the working environment, you get so many challenges, and if you had missed that foundation, you hardly make it. So yeah, we had a great time.
And you were one of the women that I drew strength from. Yo, this woman. I mean, you were
Yeah.
that would be going through something, but you are the same person that is giving us strength. That say, guys, you know what? Let's go on our knees. Let's fast. Let's do this. Let's do that. And I'm thinking, hey, there tonight, who's this now? Tina, like he problems is it? But you were that sister that we would come and cry and share these things. Sweet, you know what? Let's pray. But yeah, I enjoyed those moments. I enjoyed those moments. And today, I just want us to talk about, that journey. That there are a lot of people that wants to hear. Hey, oh.
That journey.
Yeah, that journey. At that point in time, I remember I wanted to be in one of your movements, whatever event that you're doing, because I will know that when you talk, when you stand on that stage, people are gonna be like, what? So those are the things that drew me closer to you, and I've learned so much from you. Your wisdom, your strength. I don't think I wouldn't have survived, and I wouldn't have survived. But we want to hear that story.
Yeah.
We want to hear about you, Zinhle.
Your league. When I think about those days, I also go back and wonder, how did I make it? I always wonder, and I just know that I'm one of those people that God has picked up out of many, and just decided that what, out of all the challenges that you have come across, you are going to be I'm going to use you to be a testimony of whatever had happened in your life.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, God has given me an ability to talk, sure, and for people to listen. It's just by the grace of God. In 2004, it was in May, I got a flu. And at that time, I thought to myself, it's just a flu, it's another flu. I didn't go to consult, I didn't go to the clinic, I just went to the chemist. And at the chemist, because I was coughing a lot. So I went to the chemist, I bought a medication for flu, cough mixtures and all that. So I went back to the res. I took the medication, and after taking the medication, I realized that no, this medication is finishing and there's nothing happening. And apart from the flu, I don't have any appetite at all. Now I'm thinking to myself, I don't have appetite, and I'm starting to vomit now. Because all the food that I'm eating, I cannot keep it down. And I'm starting to lose weight. And in as much as I'm starting to lose weight, I have fatigue. I'm exhausted. I can't even, for me to wake up, to get out of bed, I have to literally drag myself out of bed to the shower and to the classes. But in any case, it happened until the time when I began to have short breaths. And now when I had short breaths, I thought to myself, you know what, I mustn't take this, lightly, because it might be something bad. But I don't want to lie, Yolik, at the back of my mind, remember at that particular time, it was not even a year since my sister passed on due to HIV, to AIDS-related illnesses. So I was thinking to myself, you know what, I don't want. I had fear. I had so much fear because I had to experience firsthand a person, because she was not the only one. Remember, I had friends who also passed on. My sister passed on. My other sister passed on before I got sick. But this one was so recent because it was not even a year since my sister died. Then I had to go and test. But I went to the day hospital at Delft. So when I got there, the doctor examined me. The first thing that he said, you know what, you have thrush in your mouth. And I was like, thrush? You know, I know I've been workshopped about HIV and AIDS. So, you know, I know there was a lady at church who was facilitating workshops on HIV and AIDS, and at that time I was not even in university, but I still remember exactly what she talked about, the symptoms and all those things. So I knew exactly what the doctor meant, that I had thrush. And remember, thrush is not something that just comes out, especially to older people.
Yeah.
We only experience it in kids. So when you have thrush, then that means it's one of the symptoms of the virus. And I was thinking to myself, no ways. And then they took my x-ray and then they said, you know what, we suspect that you have TB, but we cannot do anything without you testing. You know, the system at that time was so cruel. I must say cruel, because you know, like it literally meant that we cannot assist you. We cannot give you any medication unless you test. And remember, in my mind, testing meant that, you know, like I am going to know that I'm HIV positive. And if I'm HIV positive, am I going to survive? Or am I going to be able to accept? Or does it mean that I'm going to die? Because at that time, HIV was something that was scary. I don't want to lie, it was very much scary. I was scared and I went back and I said, no, I don't want to test. Come again? I don't want to test. As soon as I went into the res, I packed my bags and I said, I called my mom and I said, can you please book me a ticket? I'm coming home. I left varsity like that. I left and went home. When I came home, as sick as I was, my mom had to take me to hospital, first to a doctor. There was a clinic, a highway, somewhere around where Boxer is, but there was a clinic there. And that clinic used to assist people who are HIV positive a lot. So my mom took me there. And fortunately, without me even testing, that doctor understood my fears. He understood what I was going through. And I think when I looked at him, he already knew that I was HIV positive. So he didn't need no test, no confirmation or whatever, because all the symptoms were literally showing that, you know, like I'm HIV positive. I've lost weight and, you know, you can even see that I have TB. But then he had to transfer me to the hospital because I had to go to the hospital because all the x-rays and all the other tests are done at hospital. Now at hospital, I go to hospital and I find another doctor telling me that I cannot do anything unless you test.
Sure.
I'm so scared. I remember crying to my mom on the corridor and I said, I don't want to test. I don't want to know. I don't want to die. That's the things that I said. And then my mom said, okay, if you feel like you don't want to test, then don't test. Then my mom had to take me to another clinic where I was treated, and then they used the home remedies and all the things that you know, like that could assist to boost my immune system.
Sure.
And I carried on like that. I didn't take the TB treatment. because I had TB at that particular time. And it was still May at that time. Then it was May, June. Then August, I wanted to go back to school. Remember, I'm not treated anything. I'm just given treatments to only the symptoms, not what was affecting at that particular time.
But the doctor left you in the hospital?
The doctor didn't admit me because I didn't want to be tested.
Okay.
So there was literally nothing that the doctor could do because I didn't want to be tested. Like I cried like nobody's business. And my mom said, okay, if you don't want to be tested, okay, I agree with you. Let's go home. We went back home. Then I went to this particular doctor. They call her Dr. Ngumbela, but she was very good. I don't know whether she still have a clinic or whatever, but at that time she was placed in Southernwood. My mom took me there, and you know what, you're that woman. They gave me injections. They gave me all the treatment that they will normally give to a person who's HIV positive without knowing my status. And she just gave me everything. And then my body started, like at least to react to the treatment positively because I didn't have any side effects. So I had to go back to school, because now I was thinking that, you know what, if there's one thing that I do not want to miss is for me not to be able to graduate. As to how am I going to survive and whatever, then it was going to be up to God. And at that particular time, I had already made an agreement with God. And I said to God, you know what, if you heal me, I'm going to be the vessel that you are going to use to heal your people. Whatever you need me to do, I will be, if you heal me. And I went back to Cape Town. When I arrived in Cape Town, you know what, I was like weighing 35 kgs. I had lost so much weight, and people didn't understand why I came back. Most students didn't understand. My lecturers didn't understand why I had to come back. But when I said to them, you know what, I had to come back because I have to finish my degree. And people were confused because they were thinking, she's still sick. How is she going to complete her studies? How is she going to be able to do that? And I know the feeling that they were going through, but I didn't want to dwell much in my fear anymore. Because remember, with students at that particular time, it was a long time ago where people still feared HIV. People still gossiped about people who have HIV. People still stigmatized people living with HIV. They still discriminated against them. I had to face all of those things, unfortunately. But I believe that those things are the ones that made me strong. I still remember I would go to the res, and then I would meet some people standing on the road on my way to the res. And when I come, then it suddenly gets quiet. And when I leave, and everybody has turned to look at me. And, there was nothing that I could do, honestly. I just prayed every day for strength to get through whatever I was going through. Because in as much as I was going through that and I was alone in it, but I had so much support. I had support from my friends, Abonwabisa. I had support from Opumza. I had support even in, like Abo Yonela and all the other people. Wandisa, they supported me fully. And they understood, even though they also had questions and didn't want to offend me in some of the questions. But when I said, you know what, I'm going to complete my degree, because if I go back, I had that thing in my mind, if I go back home and not study, that's one thing that is going to kill me before I'm being killed by AIDS. So I pushed on, and I still remember in November I had to go back because I didn't go to my teaching practice in June. I mean in July. So I had to go back to my teaching practice in November, and I was writing exam, and I was also writing the June exam as well. So everything I was just doing at once. And remember, I have not fully recovered. I have not, because I haven't tested yet. It's November, but I haven't tested yet. And I didn't get any treatment. But I decided in November that, you know what, I'm not going to go back home without knowing my status. That one I'm not going to do. I went to the clinic, the campus clinic. When I got there, I met Sister Norma. Sister Kapile was still working there. Then I met Marcellus. Marcellus was the psychologist at that particular time. So I got tested and I got counseling, you know. I still remember Marcellus was asking me, in the next 5 years, where do you see yourself? And I said, you know, I don't know. And in as much as I had faith, you know, Yolanda, I really didn't know what was going to happen in the next 5 years. And then he asked me, if you have to ask God for more time, what would you ask? How much time would you ask for? And I was like, 5 years, I think, because that was the least that, you know, like I thought I was going to survive. At least God can just give me 5 years so that I can get my degree. I can work maybe for 2 years and maybe die. I don't know. Then I tested and the results obviously came positive. And Marcellus wrote me a transfer letter. So now I had to go back to East London because now I had completed my exam and all that. Then I had to go back to East London, do my, remember I had x-rays there, which I left hanging because I didn't want to test. And I had to go to another test for x-ray, you know. Then I had to do my CD4 count and all the other things. So when I arrived in Cecilia Makiwane, then they compared my then yes, and then the ones that were taken in May. And when my doctor observed the 2 x-rays, then my doctor said, I'm asking myself, how did you survive without taking any treatment for TB? Because remember, I still hadn't taken the treatment for TB. And it was already after 6 months. So, you know, like, then I had to question, what is happening to this x-ray and what is happening to this one? That, you know what, I don't know how you managed to do it, but these x-rays that are here are fine. And these x-rays for May that were taken in May, you know what, your lungs like are damaged. I don't know how you survived. I don't know how you survived it. But I knew that, you know, it's God. It can only be God. It can only be the hand of God that can restore a damaged lung to its own form again. Then he suggested that, hey, since you didn't take any treatment, can I please start you on the TB treatment because you've never taken it before. Then I had to be given the TB treatment. Then I started the TB treatment. When I started the treatment, I had side effects, severe side effects. And with me, one of the significant ones that I still remember at that particular time was developing pneumonia. And remember, I had to start the TB treatment because now I was going to be administered the ARV treatment. And I still remember because I was one of the few people that had started the ARVs. But even my doctor was skeptical at that time because I still remember he had to call another doctor that, you know what, this person came and her CD4 count is now 15, because at that time it was 15. And then he continued saying that we don't know how much is it now, because it was 15 then when she came from Cape Town, and now obviously maybe it's below 0.
Sure.
Because we haven't started any treatment. And I'm skeptical. So the doctor was raising his concern to the other one. I'm skeptical to start her on ARV treatment because the side effects can be so severe if your CD4 count is low. Then I answered. I was sitting there waiting for them to, decide what to do and whatever. But I answered. I said, you know what? I want that treatment. I want you to give me. I'm giving you my permission to give me that treatment. Somehow, I think at that particular time, my hope was in the treatment. It was so misdirected at that time because I was not having a strong relationship with God. But I started the treatment in January. I got treated the pneumonia. Then I was started on Bactrim. Then after starting the Bactrim, because what happened was that the doctors had to administer the TB treatment hand in hand with the Bactrim, because the Bactrim is an antibiotic. So they could have prevented that. But I don't think at that particular time they had in-depth knowledge of what to use. So it was just touch and go, because remember, research there were too many research to understand this kind of disease, because it was a very complicated disease at that particular time. Then on January, I started my treatment. I always say when I'm having my birthday in January, and I say, I have 2 birthdays. It's like the time that I was given a second chance and the time that I'm actually birthdaying. So then after that, I responded well to the treatment. I never had side effects at that particular time until I went back to CPUT. I was fine. I was energetic. I was looking, I couldn't wait to take over the world. I went back home. I went back to campus. So when I was in campus, I continued with my treatment. I was still on TB treatment, and it was easier for me to access the medication because now I could easily go to the campus clinic and take the medication that I need. And then for the ARV treatment, I couldn't take because they were not administered in our campus. So I would go to Tigerberg to fetch my ARVs. It was fine. Continued. Then I completed my course, my 6 months course of TB. But I started picking up weight. I was energetic. The fatigue, everything. I was completely. I was beginning to be myself, and my CD4 count was also picking up nicely. And in as much as there were challenges, but then I've never had a problem where they would tell me that your CD4 count has dropped or whatever. My CD4 count has never dropped. It has always been stable. It went up until to 1.3, because even now today it is still 1.3. So then it was 2006. And it has already been a year since I've started my treatment and all that. And at that particular time, I'm already saved. I've accepted Christ, and everything is going well. My studies are going well. I'm performing well at school. I've joined the PA education program. And at that time, I was also a PA educator. I was so eager as a result. In my participation in the PA education program, I was promoted to be a facilitator within 2006, and I don't know how. Maybe it was because I was not afraid to share about my challenges, my story, and at that time I was so eager to learn about HIV. And then in 2000, during that year, then I developed a side effect from the ARVs, and that side effect is called lactic acidosis. So basically, what my body was doing, it was making or generating acid instead of oxygen. So basically, what was happening in my body, acid was all over. And I began to get tired. I began to lose weight again. And and there was no other way. I had to be taken out of the medication altogether, the ARVs. And when I was taken out of the ARVs, you know what, ne? We always think that when we are saved and when challenges come, we always think that, like, how can it be, God? I've given myself to you, and what more do you want? Because now you always think that since you are in the presence of God, there's nothing that can happen to you. And I still remember I said, yes. And I still remember Yolanda was saying that, you know what, God, what I don't understand is that if I get taken out of this medication, so that means I will die.
Sure.
And there was a voice in my head, and it just told me that nothing is going to happen to you. And for 6 months, I didn't take any medication. For 6 long months, I didn't take medication. I would go just be tested, and then they would tell me that, no, it's still there. We just need to clear it out and whatever. And nothing. So at that time, I had to literally begin putting my health in God's hands. Because I knew that no treatment, in fact, that time taught me that God is above every treatment that you can take. God is just the healer. And that's when I realized that my faith was in the treatment, but not with God. And therefore, I had to put myself in God's hands and know that, I completely trust only Him for my healing. And nothing happened. After 6 months, they took my CD4 count, they took my viral load. And in as much as I was not taking any medication, my CD4 count didn't go down.
Okay.
My viral load didn't go up. It was just like that. And during those 6 months, remember, I was praying, I was worshiping, I was reading the word. In as much as there were a lot of things that I was doing, but in whatever that was happening, God was just my God. The only person that, I could count on. I at that time, we shared so many intimate moments. And to understand and for me to be able to listen to the Holy Spirit and for me to let go of my fears and every other thing. Hence, I'm saying that I even doubt that HIV will ever kill me or or AIDS for that matter. I really doubt. But in any case, and at that time, then I went back to my treatment. And after that, then, because the treatment was now changed from one regime to another, then the one that I got was, in it, there was an AZT, because that one was D4T, and then the D4T was replaced by the AZT. And the AZT also had side effects, but this time I wasn't sick.
Because is it stronger than the other one that you used before?
It does the same work, actually. It does the same work, but it's just that it doesn't have the same side effects that the other one had.
Okay.
But I developed now lipodystrophy, where I literally changed the shape of my body. I had big breasts. I don't know where my bums went. And all the muscles in my body vanished. Like when I looked at myself at that particular time, it was like I was a man with big breasts. Basically, what was happening. It was like a man with big breasts. But like the fact that I had attended a workshop, on treatment literacy. Immediately, I knew that something was wrong, and I immediately reported it. So when I reported it, at that particular time, remember there were no, there were not a lot of treatments at that time available, especially here in South Africa, because we are not like the world, the first world countries, where the different treatments available, if this one is not working, if this one is not working. But by the grace of God, I was sent by one of my colleagues to a clinic in Khayelitsha. And in Khayelitsha, at that particular time, they had the treatments that I was needed, because remember the D40 was not working, and the AZT now turned me into this person that I don't even recognize, that I don't even know. I thank God. I even thank God for restoring me, because I know that even though you will think that you are fine, but emotionally, having to change from a person that you don't know, from a person that you know, to a person that you hardly recognize, it eats up in you. And your self-esteem, you can't have self-esteem, you can't have confidence when you are like that, because you are like thinking to yourself, who's going to be like, and people are going to ask you, what's wrong with you? Why are you having big breasts now?
And
what is happening?
Even yourself.
Yes, and you're really not comfortable with the person that you are. But in any case, Yolanda, then I started the new treatment, and which was no, it's not a fervorance. Why do I forget? Okay, I will think about it. But then I started that treatment, and because the clinic was run by the doctors without borders. So they were international doctors, but placed in Khayelitsha. I'm sure they were there to do research and every other thing. So basically, I got a new treatment. Then I had to change. And unfortunately, I know a lot of people that were not able to change to that treatment, and are now still experiencing the bad results of lipodystrophy. It's not nice, and it's not nice. But like as years goes on, and then I could see lots of changes. And also the fact that like you would go to the gym now and again and all that, at least like you are able to assist your body to recover
As well.
But yeah, so then fortunately, Yolanda, then I had completed my degree in 2006 with all those challenges. Then in 2007, I got a call in January, and I was thinking to myself, oh, am I going back to teaching? So I have to submit CVs and all that. And I was thinking about that. But in my mind, you still remember, I know you still remember this one, because in 2006, I used to look at Freedom Square where I was staying, and I used to say, that is going to be my flat.
Yeah, I remember.
Every time when we passed that, yeah, every time when we passed that race, I used to say, I'm going to stay there. That is going to be my flat. And I used to say, I'm going to get that job. And Peter called me in January and told me that, you know what, you need to get your CV ready. And oh no, they already had my CV. And then Peter said, how long can you get here? Can you be here tomorrow? And I still remember it was the 10th of January. And I was saying, no, it was the 8th of January. Then I said, you know what, Peter, my sister because my sister was pregnant at that time. I said, my sister is about to give birth. I don't want to go to Cape Town without seeing my niece. I have to be there. So you are going to see me on the 10th of January.
That's the Zita that I know.
Then Peter said, then Peter said, really? And I said, yes. And that's my deal. Take it or leave it. And then Peter said, okay, I'm going to wait for you until the 10th. So then my sister gave birth on the 9th of January in the early hours of the morning. So on the 9th in the morning, I went to see my niece. Then I said my goodbyes. And after that, I had to leave for Cape Town. So in Cape Town, I was appointed as a health promoter at that time. And at that time, I think I had so much knowledge when it comes to HIV and AIDS, but not that much, because remember, things are evolving. You think you know one thing, and then the next, here comes a new one. And I'm sure we've all recognized it, even with the coronavirus. There's always something new. So when I was appointed as the health promoter, you know, it is so amazing how the plan of God works. Because the Bible says all things work together for the good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And that's true, because even the bad things that are happening in your life, or that will happen in your life, are actually going to work out for good for you. Because that's what that's what the plan of God is. Remember, God wants to give us a future, wants to give us hope. And his promises, they don't deviate from one thing to another. They stay the same. And God really used me, Yolanda. God really used me. You know, I was so amazed by the fact that even the people who gossiped about me the time when I was sick are the very same people who called me and asked for help, whether it's for a sister, whether it's for themselves, whether it's for a family member or a friend or whatever.
You became
the very same people who did that.
You became a mother.
Yes. And remember, I had lots of people that I had to touch, from the peer educators, from the students, to the lecturers, to the staff members. You know, I had to be that. And it was so scary. It was so scary at first, because even the people who would come to me that I would be expected to help had the same fear that I had before I got diagnosed. Because after I got the diagnosis, I was fine. But before I got diagnosed, the fear that I saw in their eyes was the very same fear that I had. So it was easy for me to relate to them and encourage them as to how they can cope with this. Because remember, I have now become a living testimony of what I have, or what I've overcame over those years. And now I had to be the strength to others. I had to be a pillar. And it is so amazing that, like, I'm still in touch with those people, and they still remind me of the impact I had made in their lives. And I really bless God because, I also do not know where I got the strength from, but I know that it can only come from God.
Yeah.
Because, when you are being used like that, and when you have to constantly think that, how am I going to, because it's not only about encouraging the people who are living with HIV and AIDS. It's also about encouraging people to prevent themselves from getting HIV and AIDS.
Yeah.
And the youth, they have a mind of their own, and I had to literally put myself in their shoes.
Sure.
And had to think that, what, I was once in that position where I wanted to explore everything and whatever. And therefore, me trying to explore everything, it has consequences. And the consequences, one of those consequences is for you to live with HIV. And unfortunately, you're not going to wake up one day and say, you know what, I'm HIV free. I'm still waiting upon God for me to say I am HIV free. But so far, like I've always treated HIV as just a small part of my body.
Yeah.
Or let me say, just a small part that is invading my body, because I don't want to lie. I know that some of my colleagues would say it's a cousin, it's a what, it's a friend. I do not believe, Yolanda, that God can give you a disease to be your friend. That's what I've learned over the years. Yes, at first I used to say that, you have to accept it. Yeah. You have to do, and I have accepted it a long time ago. I've lived healthy and positively with it in my body, but it just have to know that it's an invader. There's no way that I'm going to say, yes, because it has invaded my body. It was not something that I had invited, and it's actually a guest that I had to accept that it's here. So basically, I won't say that I don't have time for that, Seriously, I don't have time for that. I would be lying to myself, and I would be lying to everyone. Mina angiyompintshi. Andiyimpintshi ne-HIV, it's just HIV. And over the years, I've learned to understand that it cannot define me. It cannot define the person that I am.
Not who you are.
And there's a lot that I have. Yes, and I have learned to understand that I'm so much more than, yes, it had to be there to teach me a lesson, to draw me closer to God, and to teach me how to better take care of myself. And I don't want to lie, after that, after being diagnosed with HIV, every day for me, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's just it's awesome, even with those challenges that I face. But it's so amazing, because I realized that if God hadn't given me a second chance to live in 2004, then that means that my life would have been over in 2004. By 2004, and therefore the work that I've done until now would have been in vain. It wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened. The plan of God wouldn't have happened in my life, wouldn't have been implemented in my life.
And I'm just thinking,
but if there's one thing that I cannot change,
I'm just thinking of the fact that you had 5 years in your mind Look at you now,
Yes.
you know, because of fear.
Yes.
You know
now
how fear can
yes,
limit you and can make you think
exactly.
less of yourself and can think that you can't even
Exactly.
dream further because you're thinking to yourself, you are already a dead person.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know?
That's why I'm saying that being given a second chance in life, and the thing is, like God does things exceedingly and abundantly. The 5 years is now 16 years.
And it's gonna be
And
more.
yes, and I'm still going strong, like in terms of HIV and whatever. I'm still going strong because I'm still doing my campaigns. In fact, I've realized that God can put me in any environment, in any working environment. I will still do what I'm doing.
Sure.
I will still talk about HIV and AIDS. I will still teach about HIV and AIDS. I will still do anti-HIV and AIDS programs, uh, and I think it is so nice right now in my life, because I think the age that I had a target for, like in terms of CPUT and all that, was the age of 18 to 24, obviously, and maybe above if a person graduates later. But I realized that even now, because my learners are like 12, 13, and I still do the same thing, because these kids grow up fast.
Yeah.
They grow up fast, and then they get exposed to things at a very young age. And it is so unfortunate that, like where I'm currently teaching, there's so much poverty,
Sure.
so much alcohol consumption in that community, unemployment rate, and everything else. And therefore, I have also realized that, these kids are so much exposed to such things, because maybe they are staying in one room, in one bedroom. So you will realize that everything is, they get exposed to, there's no privacy, there's nothing.
Sure.
They know about sexual they know about those things. But what they do not understand is the consequences of, if you know uh if you go through those boundaries, then there are consequences. And one of them is the fact that you might have STIs, HIV, pregnancy, and all those things. It is so nice, it's so fulfilling to have a job that gives me the opportunity to do that, because even now I'm the HIV and AIDS coordinator in my workplace, and I also run the Soul Buddies Club. So we're working under the Soul City, and it's our peer education program, basically. Then apart from everything else, I still do motivational talks and all that when it comes to HIV and AIDS. And it is so nice, because even in my church, I do that. I do that. I always say to myself that there's really, there is no place that God can place me in where I will not be able to talk about HIV and AIDS, or where I will not be able to teach about HIV and AIDS, because remember, I also continued, and I also registered for HIV and AIDS management, and I graduated at University of Stellenbosch. So I have so much information, and when I start HIV, I don't stop.
Yes, I'm just thinking
I
the
really
fact
don't
that
stop.
I'm just
But
thinking,
it's a blessing.
I'm just thinking that, the very same thing that caused pain, is the very same thing
Yes.
that now brings joy. and purpose. You know,
yes,
that
that
God uses.
me. Yes.
It takes me back to the scripture that you also mentioned, you know, that whether it's
Yes.
good, whether it's bad, it will work
Whether
out for you.
bad,
You know, it will work out for
good,
you.
yes.
You know, because now it's working out for you now. And the journey that you went through, every pain that
And
you went through, now it's those information that you are using now to encourage others. Because you cannot encourage someone with something that you've never experienced, you know. So you had to go through those things for you now to motivate others and strengthen others, so that you now you relate with them. You know, it's easier to relate, because if you didn't experience those things and then they're experiencing those developments, the side effects, the changes, the shame, you know, the lack of confidence, you know, and people talking about you, and you feel like, you know what, you just want to be in your room, you don't want to talk to anyone else. But now you know those things. Now you are able to say that it's okay, you know. You know, I've been there as well, but look at me now by taking these steps, you know, sharing the steps that you use now, you know, it worked out for you, and it will work out for them.
It worked out.
You know?
Yes, because if it has, I still remember when one of my former clients at that time, but now she's also my friend. She has been my friend ever since. I still remember when she invited me to my room and she was crying to her room. I came in, and then when I came in, I said, Gogo, ndingene, and then said, Ngen, ungubani? I said, no, ndinguzinhle. Said, hey, I know I'm waiting for you, but I didn't think I'm going to see the person that I'm seeing now. And I was like thinking to myself, what do you mean? And then said, I thought I was going to see someone who is sick, someone who's dying, someone who had lost weight, you know, because in their mind, HIV was only doing that. And then when I began to tell my story, that, you know what, I even showed them the pictures that I was like this, and this is now, and I'm not going back. And then she confessed to me that, you know what, I just wanted to talk to you first before I commit suicide. I had told myself that, because I thought to myself, I will never be able to live with HIV. At that time, remember, HIV brought shame to families and all those things because of the stigma around it. And so I said to her, you know what, I'm not here to stop you in whatever you wanted to do, but I'm here to tell you that if a person like me can go through all that, then be the same person who is standing in front of you now, who is full of life, who is telling herself that I'm going to have a family, I'm going to have a second degree, I'm going to have a house, I'm going to have kids, I'm going to have what? Do you understand? So she was like, I want to see it too. And I said, and you can see it. You can see what God can do about your situation. You can also witness that. And then when I realized that she also has kids just like me, even after, and has done well in life and all that, I realized that, you know what, God, you can really, 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 really restore a person. No matter what the situation might have been at that particular time, but God is able to restore everything that the enemy is stolen.
You can imagine now you have two kids. Three kids. Because one was the one that you had in Cape Town. When you had one in Cape Town, and you had two after you left.
Yes. Yeah.
You see?
So I have a squad.
Who would have known?
A soccer squad, my friend.
Who would have known?
Who would have known? Because I still remember In 2006,
Mm.
no, not in 2000, yes, in 2006, in January,
Mm.
I had already decided on the fact that I will never be able to have kids.
Mm.
And in my mind, I didn't think that maybe there was someone, I didn't think there was a possibility of a man accepting you with
Mm.
HIV and all that. I didn't think.
Mm.
It didn't even cross my mind. So in my mind, it was like, okay, fine, I'm going to be alone.
Mm.
Yes, I will be teaching about HIV. I will be doing all sorts of things.
Mm.
But when it comes to family, marriage, and all the other things, I will never be able to have them.
Mm.
And God showed me just how wrong I was at that particular time.
Mm.
Sorry, I'm installing my charger.
Mm. Mm.
God really showed me how wrong I was at that particular time, because there's really nothing impossible.
Mm.
There's really nothing impossible with God. Everything is possible. I look at myself and I look at my kids, and I realize that, you know what, God, you are so awesome. And I still remember when I was pregnant with my third, with my last born, everybody else was so skeptical that, you know what, remember, you are HIV, you HIV positive,
Mm.
and your immune system is not as strong as the other people and all that.
Mm.
But with me, in as much as I've never had plans to have a third child, because my idea, my plans were just to have two, and then that was fine.
Mm.
So I realized that, you know what, there's nothing impossible. My boy is now 5 years old, is going to turn 6 in November. And I realized that, you know what, God, you are so awesome.
I'm just
You
thinking
you
of the
are
fact.
awesome.
I'm
Serious.
just thinking of the fact. Remember how people were very scared
Yes,
that you said you wanted a child.
yes,
You know how
yeah,
how you were so so full of faith.
adamant to
You
have
know,
it.
and I remember,
Yes.
you
Mm.
had you took your time out of the church, because there was
Yes.
so many things happening, and you told yourself, you know what, I'm just gonna be
There
with
were so
my
many
father.
things.
I'm just gonna be with my father and
Yeah.
pray, because I want this child and I
Yes.
will have the child. And everyone was so shocked when you are
Yes.
boom, you are pregnant. The child, the tummy is big, the child is healthy, everything is just
Yes.
going so well.
Yes. And it was so, do you still remember, it was so hard for me to conceive at that time,
I
because
remember
I
before.
had lots of, yeah, I had lots of consultations with the gynecologist,
Hmm.
some things that had to be made. Joe, you know what, I went through a lot at that time before I conceived. And do you still remember when I told you that check up, because I had been told that, you know what, uh, chances of you having a child are so much slim at this point in time,
Hmm.
because of the growth I had and all the other things that I had at that particular time. And then so when I went to a checkup, to take my results, to find out how the results went, whether I still have the growth, whether is whatever, because the growth was now turning into cancer. Was cancer. It was cancerous, actually.
Hmm.
So then when I went to fetch the results, it was when the doctor saw that I was pregnant. And I was actually laughing, because I didn't think that it was possible.
Hmm.
I didn't think that it was possible. I just went there to fetch my results, and then boom, here I was on scans and everything else. And I was told that you are 4 weeks pregnant.
Sure.
And I was like thinking to myself that when? Okay, yeah, I know when, but then how? And it taught me a lot, because it taught me a lot. Because even today, I still have this mentality that when I ask something from God, I ask and then I expect. I ask and then I wait, because at that time I asked and I was anxious and I wasn't sure. But that time taught me that when you ask from God, you ask and then you expect, and the how part is up to Him. You leave the how part to Him. When all you have to do is to wait.
Sure.
Wait, let God do His own thing in His own time. Ask and just only. Ask and believe only.
Yeah.
So it has always been my mentality. Even now, I ask and I believe. I actually see what I'm asking for. I believe that I've already have it. And as to how, ish, that one is not for me to know. Seriously.
And that's
it's not for me to know.
That is my Sinclair.
Seriously.
And that's why I love you so much. It's how faithful you are to God. And the
I still remember when we were in RLM, you used to call me a woman of faith. As a result, when I'm going through whatever I'm going through, I always, I get reminded of how you used to tell me that you were a woman of faith. And I think to myself, you know what, ne? Sometimes when we are pushed into the wall, we tend to forget the ability that we have, and the power and what we possess inside, that God has placed inside us. We tend to forget that when we face the challenges of life. But you get reminded by those things that, you know what, yes, I'm a woman of faith, Mos. I'm a woman of faith. I can do this. The only person who can do this is me. Sure. I will. So, it has always been also a motivation for me to know that, I'm also being labeled as this person. And therefore I have to live up to, and also my expectations as well.
Oh man,
yeah.
And you will never stop talking now.
Libala san. Libala san, we will never stop talking.
Thank you so much, Z.
We will never stop.
So much. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I can't wait for you to come to Cape Town.
I am coming to Cape Town. You know what, ne? Yeah. So that is Ihlale, and she unpack everything.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Z. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And guys, now I have no words. I can't add anything. I can't add anything, and I can't subtract anything.
Yeah.
Why would I even subtract? Because I mean, you just said everything. You just said everything, and how we should, like, not everyone has HIV, but we all go through challenges. We have our own HIV, just because you have this one, nam dineyam endihamba nayo ndithweleyo ebhedini yam engixakileyo mnaqala, but how do we maintain, how do we manage, to get through to get through those challenges, so that we see ourselves, being who I am, without removing all those things, when I'm just Uyolanda, naked, without these titles and everything. I have a job, I have children, I'm a wife, I'm a friend. And who am I? Why am I here? And then you took the pain that you are feeling, and you used it for the benefit of helping others, of serving others, and you received a fulfillment from that, and basically it's the same for everyone. It's the same for everyone. It's the same thing that we should all take, that when all of this, that I am, and the pain that I'm feeling right now, but who am I? Who am I? And then once you get your identity, then you take whatever that you're feeling and you use it, and I mean, all of us, we get to those points where we feel like, you know what, this is too much, this is enough. This is enough. But when we hear these conversations and these stories, and you find yourself, it's a story was nothing compared to, dust yourself up, dust yourself up, and pull up your socks and move forward, because there's life. There are people that are names under your name, that is it, but these people are waiting for you, Yolanda, to stand up and move. These people are waiting for you to touch their lives. These people are waiting for you to motivate them. These people are waiting for you to speak, to share your story, so that they can, to take on, whatever that they have, and use it, for their benefit. Use their story for their benefit. Use their pain, for their purpose. So wow. I'm still amazed of your story. Even today, I would never, ever, ever, ever get used to it. Shame. I will never get used to it.
Yeah.
That's why I love you so much.
I know.
Z. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
I love you too. Thank you.
And this is the end of today. We will have another conversation. And for you guys, thank you so much for watching and listening and taking your time to listen through, till the end of this journey, so that you can also look at yourself and see what you can do with your life. And you must know that it's not the end of you. There is light after the dark tunnel. There's always a light after the dark tunnel. Look at Uzi. Uzi is beautiful.
I am.
This is the lady of high heels, like not a model.
And still is like that.
She would cook with heels. She would go to the mall with heels.
And do groceries with heels.
Yeah. Wow. It's been great time seeing her. I've learned so much, perseverance, endurance, Ngawe. In staying in God's word. I would sometimes run, go to your flat, and I knock. No one is answering. And your door is always open, most likely. Your door is always open slightly. And I'll push the door and I go in. Yeah, she is worshiping. And you remember there was this album, Gatiti Jakes. Holy, I think it was Holy.
Yes.
Holiness. Playing that song. And I'm thinking, okay, you know what, when you get to that mood, you might as well go in, I don't ask, I end on the worship, and it was great times, because I knew, Bana, if you are in that mode, you are trusting God for something, or you are praising God, you're just thanking him for who he is without asking anything. And those are the moments, those are beautiful moments that sometimes we don't have to be in
Yeah.
a worship mode when we are in pain. You can just be in a worship mode just because you just feel like want to be intimate with him, and feel his presence, just honoring
Yes.
him and being a child,
Mm.
sometimes. So yeah, we'll never stop talking.
Yeah.
Bye-bye,
Yes.
girl. Thank you so
You.
much, guys. Don't forget to share, to like, and subscribe. You know what to do. And thank you so much. Mwah. Bye.
Thank you, guys.